With me is Charles Fedunak from Lake County to talk to us about pruning. Welcome, Charles.
Hi, Julie.
So why is it somebody needs to prune? Why can't we just let our stuff grow all over the place?
Yeah, really when you're out there pruning, you need to know why you're out there. You know, sit back and think, why am I taking off this branch, or why am I pruning this? What's the reasons behind it? A lot of those may be, a majority of them are control height and growth of a plant, because it's maybe a plant that's planted too close or under a window and you're having to reduce the height down. This time of the year, we're also having to look at, removing dead and damaged stuff from plants that have been damaged from cold or things of that nature.
Big year for that.
Right. So when they're pruning, they want to go back, and cut off all that dead stuff and clean up the plants. That lessens the likelihood of leaving dead tissue that could get diseases and stuff like that in the plant, and it makes the landscape look a lot nicer.
So I see you brought us some implements here.
Right,
so
we brought an assortment in here. There's a wide range. We don't find, we used to do one called an anvil pruner, which was actually squeezed and pinched off the plant. The problem with those is they caused a lot of damage, and it was hard for the wound to heal. We still do those kind of cuts, maybe like on cut flowers, so you don't want it to heal up. You want to be able to absorb water. But most of the pruners and stuff out there anymore are some type of a bypass pruner, where you have a stationary blade, and then the one sharp blade actually cuts across this. And these are really nice. They do a really excellent job. I brought kind of a stem in here just to kind of talk about pruning, is the fact that with the bypass, you have this thicker bottom blade here. And so a lot of times what you want to do is learn how to actually position this not toward the plant, but away from the plant here, and if it means turning the pruners over. That way you have better control with your cutting blade, and you can get a nicer, cleaner cut on the plant.
So you want to have it kind of diagonally coming away from the stem instead of diagonally toward it.
Well, little stuff, you just try to make a nice, clean cut back to another branch or to where you're cutting from. But what we don't want to do is be cutting and wind up leaving stubs sticking out here, on the plant, because these don't heal well, and it's an entry point for diseases.
And it's unattractive, too.
Right, and it doesn't look as good. So by turning your pruners, you can actually get a nicer, cleaner cut there. But these work really nice. The trick is always keeping them sharp and making sure they'll do a nice clean cut, just like anything else that you use in tools that you're cutting with are always nicer when they're sharp.
What's the best way to sharpen a pruning implement?
Well, one like this, it's kind of like scissors. If you ever had a pair of scissors where you go to cut a piece of paper and it just folds the paper in half, that's because you've created a gap between these two cutting blades. And so these types of pruners just have one side that's sharp, so you only file on this side. You don't file so that you create a gap. If you can look down between here and see light down through here, you realize that you have a gap in there, and you're not going to be able to cut nice. And some of these plants are hard to cut because they have a kind of a bark. It's soft and green or something, and you go to cut it, and it just folds up in there, and then you tear it instead of cutting it. Right. So you want to do it, but there's just so many different pruners that you got, and get one that fits your hand. If you got little hands, you could go into something
I know that
small.
feeling, right?
Right. These are more used for more small jobs. You're reaching into small plants, maybe like bonsais or some of that nature. They're pruning, but you can get them in all kinds of different sizes and stuff that work really nice, because you can reach into the plant good and really be precise in where you're making your cuts at when you're doing small stuff.
There's also a lot of, I've seen them in different stores, and I actually own a pair. There's a lot more ergonomic things now available for people who have arthritis, or small, in my case, small hands, or ones that ratchet too, that are really a lot nicer when you don't have a lot of hand strength.
Well, especially you get into large stuff, because when you're cutting big limbs, it takes a lot of strength there to cut some of these cuts. Usually if somebody's getting where they have to go with something bigger than a lopper, or even a handsaw such as this, you may want to look at hiring in a professional or somebody who's got the equipment that knows how to cut these things correctly, or even an arborist that can actually prune, especially on large trees and stuff. I have people call me up and they say, I have a limb that I need to get rid of because it's laying across my neighbor's fence, and they're trying to get rid of it, and it's kind of late when you make the wrong cut or you lose half the tree.
So what are some things you should think about when you hire somebody? Like, if I was going to hire somebody to come prune the big tree at my house, should I just
Well, we encourage, I understand. We encourage people to check references, ask neighbors who they've hired if they've been happy with it. If they have any questions or not sure that they're getting the right questions or answers from the person they're talking to, don't hesitate to give us a call or one of the extension offices and just say, does this sound right? I know I had a lady said that she had her peach tree pruned, and I said, well, how'd he prune? She's, well, with a chainsaw. So automatically that throws up a red flag that he's just out there, just whacking on the tree and doesn't know what he's doing.
And something else to make sure is to inquire is if they have insurance.
Exactly. Anytime anybody comes on your property, because I know I was kidding about the homeowner cutting the tree, but we have had instances where people have had people come in, they've started to cut something, they lose it, and it lands on the neighbor's house or fence, and they just pack up and leave. And you're stuck with a headache of paying the repair cost or getting someone to come out there to fix it.
Or if they're uninsured and they get injured on your property, you're potentially liable
Especially
as well.
climbing around in the trees or something falls and they get hurt. One other thing we want to kind of talk about is basically taking good care of your equipment and making sure that it's clean. Anytime you get finished using something, you want to make sure you put it away clean, because the biggest culprit is transplanting sap from one plant to the other, and they can get on your pruners. Steel wool works real good, or something of this nature, to actually move some of the larger particles, and then you can come back in with anything from like an alcohol wipe or something that you can actually rub on the blades, being really careful because you want them sharp, and remove anything so you're not moving one disease from a plant to another plant.
Should you use the wipe in between different plants?
If you suspect that you have a diseased plant, I would save that to the end. Prune that the last, not the beginning of your pruning. And then when you get done, make sure you disinfect and clean your pruners up really good before you put them away.
And the alcohol wipes you can get like at your local drugstore and probably at even your local grocery store, right?
They work nice. You can pick those up about anywhere, and they work really nice for small hand equipment. If you're getting into larger things, they haven't really done any studies, but I'm quite sure they might work as far as using different types of disinfectant sprays, such as pine sol and stuff that you can actually spray on some of your larger equipment. Head shears and stuff would be very difficult to wipe all those moving parts. But something like that may work really nice, just to make sure you're not spreading diseases from one plant to the other.
Is there anything special somebody should know about their electric hedge or gas hedgers, how to clean those? I mean, but any other important information besides the little hand tools?
Well, the electric stuff, you always got to be careful. Make sure you unplug it when you're working on it.
Good idea.
Right. And to make sure that when you're handling these things, realize they should be sharp, and you want to get in there with something that you can actually clean pretty thoroughly on it. If you are using alcohol or some of this stuff, a lot of people use a bleach solution to disinfect. You may want to look at coming back and oiling your tools or spraying some kind of a lubricant on there so they don't rust, so they will last longer for you. Because some of these pruners and stuff are expensive, and you want to get as long a life as possible out of them.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Charles.
You're welcome. Thank you.